Has someone you love, perhaps a parent, a grandparent, or a dear elderly friend, started to show small but subtle changes in the past year? Maybe they've seemed a little more tired than usual. Maybe they've lost some weight, or perhaps they've started skipping meals, sleeping more, or withdrawing from things they once enjoyed. At first, it's easy to brush these things off. We tell ourselves, it's just aging. It's nothing to worry about. But deep down, something doesn't feel quite right. The truth is, most people assume that when death comes in old age, it comes suddenly. One day life is normal, and the next it's gone. But that's rarely how it happens. The reality is far more quiet, more gradual, and more easily missed. The body is wise. It knows how to prepare for its final journey, and often it begins sending us subtle signs, whispers, not shouts, months, sometimes even a full year before the end. These signs aren't always dramatic. They don't always scream for attention. In fact, that's what makes them so easy to overlook. They come disguised as ordinary parts of aging, but in hindsight, families often look back and realize the clues were there all along. We just didn't recognize them for what they were. That's why this video is so important. In the next few minutes, we're going to gently walk through 5 key signs that may signal an elderly person is entering the final year of life. These are signs that caregivers, children, spouses, and loved ones often miss until it's too late. And we don't want that for you. We want you to be informed, to be prepared, and most of all, to be present. Recognizing these signs early gives you something incredibly valuable: the chance to plan better care, to create beautiful last memories, and to ensure your loved one's final season of life is filled not with fear or regret, but with comfort, dignity, and deep peace. This isn't about being morbid. It's about being mindful. It's about not waiting until a crisis forces you to act. It's about noticing the quiet changes, understanding what they mean, and using that knowledge to show up more fully for the people who matter most. Because when we know what to expect, we can walk this path with more grace. We can focus less on panic and more on presence, less on scrambling for answers and more on sharing love in its purest form. So I invite you to stay with us until the end of this video. Each of these 5 signs holds insights that can make a real difference, not just in your loved one's quality of life, but in your own peace of mind. You deserve to know what's happening. You deserve the chance to say what needs to be said. And they, your loved one, deserve a transition that is as gentle, as meaningful, and as loving as possible. Let's begin this important journey together, because when we understand what the body is trying to say, we no longer feel helpless, we feel empowered. And in these tender, sacred moments near the end of life, that understanding can be the most powerful gift of all. Sign number 1, significant weight loss. This may be one of the earliest, yet most commonly overlooked signs that a person could be entering the final year of life. At first, it might be barely noticeable: a belt that suddenly feels a little loose, pants that don't fit quite the same, or an old shirt hanging differently on the shoulders. Maybe their appetite isn't what it used to be. Maybe they start skipping meals or only picking at their food. It's easy to pass it off as just getting older, but what's happening underneath the surface is often far more serious. Unintentional weight loss in the elderly isn't just about the number on the scale. It's a sign that the body may no longer be absorbing nutrients properly. The systems that once fueled energy and vitality begin to slow down. Muscles gradually shrink, and with that shrinkage comes a significant loss of strength. This doesn't just affect how they move, it affects how they live. Weakness can make even simple activities, getting out of bed, walking to the bathroom, standing for a few minutes, feel like exhausting tasks. And more than that, a weakening body is more vulnerable. It increases the risk of falls, it weakens the immune system, and it makes it harder for the body to fight off even minor infections. Sometimes, the weight loss is due to deeper medical issues, chronic conditions like heart failure, cancer, or kidney disease. Other times, it's emotional, depression, loneliness, or even undiagnosed dementia can reduce appetite and motivation to eat. Food just doesn't taste the same. Mealtimes become more of a chore than a pleasure. The body, sensing its own decline, simply doesn't send the same hunger signals it used to. And the result is a slow but steady fading away. Families often respond by encouraging their loved one to eat more, serving favorite meals, offering snacks, adding protein shakes. Sometimes it works for a while, but if the weight keeps falling despite these efforts, it's a clear sign that something deeper is at play. This isn't just about eating more, it's about the body preparing itself for a bigger transition, one that no amount of calories can stop. But there's another, deeper reason. As the body prepares for its final season, the spirit often begins to turn inward. There's a natural emotional shift that happens, a quiet, intuitive pulling away. Many people describe this stage as a kind of emotional cocooning. It's not about sadness or rejection. It's about preservation. It's about focusing energy on what's truly essential: rest, reflection, and peace. This withdrawal can be incredibly hard on loved ones. You might feel like you're being pushed away. You may wonder if you did something wrong. You might try to cheer them up, bring more people around, or plan activities to lift their spirits. And while these efforts come from a place of love, they may not always meet the person where they are, because in truth, they may no longer have the capacity or the need for stimulation the way they once did. Instead of trying to pull them back into the life they used to live, try stepping into the space they're in now. Offer quiet companionship. Sit with them in stillness. Read to them. Hold their hand. Share memories without expecting much conversation in return. Let your presence be the gift, not your words. Sometimes, the most meaningful moments near the end of life aren't loud or lively. They're soft. They happen in silence, in eye contact, in shared breath, in simply being there. Understanding this withdrawal, not as giving up, but as a sacred inward journey, allows you to support your loved one with grace. It helps you stop trying to pull them toward the past, and instead walk beside them gently into the present. A present where every gesture of love matters, even when no words are spoken. Sign number 4. Changes in breathing patterns. This is one of the more physical signs, and one that can be both alarming and confusing to witness. As a person approaches the final stages of life, their breathing often begins to change in subtle and then more noticeable ways. At first it might be something as simple as deeper sighs. Then you may start to notice pauses, moments where it seems like they've stopped breathing altogether, only to take a breath seconds later. Eventually their breathing may become irregular, shallow, then deep, then silent for long stretches. This isn't random. It's part of the body's natural shutting down process. As the body prepares for the end of life, the respiratory system, like all systems, begins to slow. The brain no longer sends regular signals to the lungs the way it once did. The oxygen exchange becomes less efficient. Muscles involved in breathing lose strength, and the result is a pattern that might seem frightening if you don't understand what's happening. These changes can also include what's called Cheyne-Stokes respiration, a rhythmic pattern where breathing speeds up, then slows down, then stops for a few seconds before starting again. For family members sitting at the bedside, this pattern can be terrifying. You may find yourself watching their chest rise and fall, wondering if each breath will be the last. It's an emotional roller coaster, hope and fear mingling in every moment of silence. But here's the truth. While it may sound unsettling, these changes are not usually painful. In fact, they are the body's deeply intelligent way of conserving energy. Each slowed breath is part of a natural rhythm of release. It's not suffering, it's surrender. In some cases, these shifts in breathing are accompanied by congestion. You might hear a rattling sound, often called the death rattle. Again, while this can be difficult for families to hear, it typically isn't distressing to the person. Their awareness is shifting inward. They are not fighting. They are resting, drifting, letting go. What can you do in these moments? The best gift you can offer is calm. Keep the room peaceful. Speak softly. Offer a cool cloth if they're warm, or adjust pillows to keep them comfortable. Sit beside them. Breathe with them. Let them know, not with panic, but with presence, that they are not alone. This is a sacred moment, a space between worlds, and while it may feel fragile, it is also filled with meaning. These breaths, their rhythm, their silence, their softness, are the final whispers of a life lived. Understanding these breathing changes helps you respond with compassion instead of fear. It reminds you that this is not a medical emergency to fix, but a natural transition to honor. A gentle release, a quiet goodbye that doesn't always need words, only love. And this realization can be painful. Watching someone you love grow thinner, weaker and quieter is heartbreaking. It's tempting to deny it, to say they just need to eat more, or they'll bounce back soon. But recognizing this change for what it is can actually be an act of love, because it allows you to shift your focus from trying to fix what can't be fixed, to honoring what is, to choosing comfort over force, to offering small, enjoyable foods and plenty of hydration, to cherishing time together over stressing about portion sizes. When we recognize significant weight loss, not just as a symptom but as a signal, a quiet message from the body, we can begin to understand what lies ahead with more clarity and compassion, and we can make the most of every moment that remains. Sign number 2. Extreme fatigue and weakness. This isn't the kind of tiredness that comes after a long day or a poor night's sleep. This is something much deeper, an overwhelming, persistent exhaustion that doesn't go away, no matter how much rest the person gets. It's the kind of fatigue that makes even the simplest tasks, getting out of bed, brushing their hair, walking to the kitchen, feel almost impossible. For someone who was once active, independent, and full of life, this slow surrender to fatigue can be both frightening and frustrating. But this level of tiredness isn't laziness. It's not something they can just push through. It's the body speaking in its own quiet way. As a person enters the final stages of life, the body naturally begins to shut down systems that are no longer essential. The heart may not pump as efficiently. The lungs may not deliver as much oxygen. The muscles receive less blood flow, and metabolism slows dramatically. Energy is no longer directed toward movement or exertion. It's reserved for the body's core survival functions. This is why so many elderly people in decline begin sleeping more than usual. They may take long naps throughout the day, or spend more time in bed than out of it. They may drift in and out of sleep, finding it harder and harder to stay awake for long periods. And even when they are awake, They might appear distracted, slow to respond, or simply too tired to engage. Over time, this fatigue begins to affect more than just the body. It impacts the spirit. Someone who once enjoyed lively conversation, favorite hobbies, or family gatherings may begin to withdraw. Not because they don't care anymore, but because they just don't have the energy to participate. They may stop returning phone calls. They might seem distant or less engaged when you visit. And that withdrawal can be incredibly painful to witness. It's easy to misunderstand these changes. Families might assume their loved one is giving up or becoming depressed. Some may try to motivate them, encouraging activity or setting goals to help them stay sharp. But often these efforts, though well-intentioned, miss the point. The person isn't failing, they're transitioning. Their body is entering a slower rhythm, one that prioritizes peace over productivity. Instead of pushing them to do more, this is a time to simply be with them, to offer presence without pressure, to understand that rest, at this stage, is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the body conserving its strength for what lies ahead. And perhaps most importantly, it's a time to validate what they're feeling, to say it's okay to rest, to hold space for the silence, and to offer comfort, not correction. Because when we meet our loved ones with compassion rather than expectations, we help ease their journey, and we allow ourselves to begin the sacred process of letting go, gently and lovingly. Sign number 3. Withdrawal from social activities. One of the most quietly devastating signs that a loved one may be entering their final year of life is something that's easy to miss and often misunderstood. It's the slow stepping back from the world they once loved, the gentle retreat from conversation, connection, and community. You might notice they stop calling friends, they skip family gatherings. They no longer seem interested in the things that used to bring them joy, whether it was gardening, church, watching their favorite shows, or just chatting with neighbors over coffee. At first it may seem like they're just tired or having an off week. But over time, the pattern becomes clear. They are beginning to let go, emotionally and socially, of the outside world. Why does this happen? Part of it is physical. As the body becomes weaker and fatigue sets in, social interaction becomes more draining. Holding a conversation takes energy. Being around people can feel overwhelming. Loud environments, multiple voices, or fast-paced conversations may be too much to process. The mind slows down, and so does the desire to keep up with the outside world. Sign number 5. Mental confusion or emotional detachment. This may be one of the most subtle and, at the same time, most heartbreaking changes to witness in someone you love. You start to notice they're not quite themselves. They might forget conversations you had just hours ago. They may struggle to recognize familiar faces, lose track of time, or become disoriented even in their own home. And sometimes they simply drift off into silence, mentally distant, as if they're somewhere far away. At first, this can seem like normal forgetfulness or age-related memory loss. But over time, it becomes something deeper. It's not just the mind slowing down, it's the soul beginning to loosen its ties to the world. This kind of cognitive change is common in the final months or year of life, and it happens for a variety of reasons. As the body declines, blood flow to the brain can decrease. Oxygen levels drop, metabolic changes, medication side effects, or underlying conditions like dementia can also play a role. But sometimes, there's no clear medical explanation at all, just a quiet withdrawal that seems to come from within. One day, they may be sharp and present. The next, They may speak in fragmented sentences, confuse names, or talk to people who aren't there. They may experience vivid dreams or visions, sometimes even describing loved ones who've already passed. To the living, this might seem strange, but to the dying, it's often comforting. In many spiritual traditions, this kind of detachment is seen not as confusion, but as preparation. The soul, sensing the nearness of the threshold, begins to move between worlds. It's not uncommon for people nearing death to talk about going home, getting ready, or seeing the light. Whether you view this symbolically or spiritually, the message is clear: they are beginning to let go. Emotionally, this detachment can be difficult for families. The person you knew, the storyteller, the jokester, the anchor of your home, now seems distant or unreachable. Conversations become one-sided. Laughter fades, eye contact grows rare, and perhaps the hardest part is that you never know when the last real moment will come, until it already has. But here's the invitation: don't fight to pull them back. Meet them where they are. Speak gently, offer comfort. Even if they don't respond, they can often still hear you. The tone of your voice, your presence, the feeling of your hand in theirs, these things still matter deeply. The mind may be fading, but the heart still feels love. The spirit still recognizes safety. And your presence, more than your words, is what brings peace in these moments. Try not to take the detachment personally. It's not rejection, it's not about you, it's a transition, an inward turning that's as natural as it is mysterious. In this quiet space, there is still time for connection, not through logic or conversation, but through stillness, presence, and love that speaks without words. As we've seen, the final year of life is rarely marked by dramatic events or sudden changes. Instead, it often unfolds through quiet whispers, subtle shifts in the body, gentle retreats of the mind, and a slow, sacred letting go. Significant weight loss, extreme fatigue and weakness, withdrawal from social activities, changes in breathing, mental confusion or detachment. Each of these signs, though they may seem small on their own, are messages from the body, signals that a deeper transition is underway. When we recognize these messages early, we're not just preparing for death, we're preparing for presence. We're stepping into our highest calling as caregivers, companions and family, to offer comfort, dignity and love in life's final chapter. It's never easy to watch someone you love fade. It's never easy to say goodbye, even when we know it's coming. But knowing what to expect can soften the fear. It can replace helplessness with gentle purpose. It can turn painful moments into meaningful ones, because this journey isn't just about dying. It's about how we love until the very end. So if you've noticed these signs in someone close to you, take a breath, be with them, listen more. Speak gently, hold their hand, don't rush to fix, just be. These final moments, when met with awareness, can become a sacred space, a place where time slows down, where regrets fade, where love becomes the language that carries us across the threshold. Thank you for spending this time with us. If this video brought you clarity or comfort, please consider sharing it with others who may need to hear this message. You're not alone on this journey, and neither are they. May your presence bring peace. May your love light the way. And may every moment, even the final ones, be filled with dignity, grace, and deep connection.